In this tutorial, we'll go through some of the basics of saving not only your images and animations, but also the session within EnSight. So the first thing we can do, let's look at saving images. We go to File, Export, and select Image. We can choose the format we'd like to set, in this case a PNG format. We can specify the file name here, test image, as well as change some of the default attributes under the advanced for window size and whether anti-aliasing is on or off. We can take a look at that image. So we can see we have a nice anti-aliased high-resolution image that we could then integrate into presentations, reports, and so forth. The next thing we'll do, we'll take a look at saving out an animation. With this transient model, we can go to File, Export, Animation. Under the Saving Animation tab, we have the ability again to change the format around. So let's choose Microsoft AVI. We then have a few different options for animation output. At the moment, we're just going to play through solution time, so we're going to make sure that play toggle is on and reset back to beginning. The number of frames to record is by default set to the number of time steps that we have, so we can specify this as just test animation. And again, some of the controls under the advanced pull down for the size and the anti-aliasing. Let's take the anti-aliasing back to 1. We'll show you what that looks like here. While that's saving out, let's look at the image that we had saved out here. So we'll look at the test image. You can see that one of the features of the anti-aliasing is to take off some of the jagged edges that you can see here that have been removed under the triad, for example, but you end up with a nice crisper image output. Under the animation export, you can see that we're currently on frame 60 out of 81, and this is writing the frames of the animation out, advancing through time that we've specified here under the solution time. So now if we go here, we can double click on that AVI file. Let's make it a bit smaller here so we can take a look at it in the window. So we have that animation playing. You can see the graphs updating as we go along, as well as all the attributes of the annotation strings as well. Okay, so those are two basic examples out in terms of images and animations. What about saving your work? There's a couple different options for saving your work. We go to File, Save now, and we can save a session. We can put some description here, description of where I am in the post-processing. Hit Save, and we'll specify a file. I keep mine in my sessions directory, but you can keep yours anywhere you'd like. We'll call this a demo session. Now, when we would like to return to this exact location in our post-processing, we can either use the window Welcome to Manager, which now has this session saved to it. So if we click on Demo Session, we have the text here. If we double-click, EnSight will restore exactly back to that location in the post-processing with all those attributes set up, and gives us a quick way to return to where we were. This works great if you're going home and want to come back to it, or you want to come back to it in a week or a couple of weeks' time. You can immediately get back to where you were with that particular post-processing. Further things you can save out here, I'm going to save commands from this session. This will actually export out all the commands. Let's take a look at commands out. Oops. Commands out.enc. Now, what did it save? If I go to the File Commands option here, this is what we wrote out. We wrote out all the information that we've run command by command, mouse movement, zooms, in and outs. Everything that we've done so far since we've started EnSight has been written out to that command file. That's a slightly more low-level, rooted way of restoring, mainly used for recovery or to do over everything that was done in the process to get to this point as well. Again, the session files are really just saving this point in the post-processing to return back to this point. Any intermediate steps of saving out images or animations and so forth is not done over again. If you want to do that, save commands from session, and that will save every single command that was done since you started EnSight. Finally, the other two options I want to show you with regards to saving data is under the export again, and we go to geometric entities. Now, with the parts selected that we might like to export, for example, we could export out a model part or maybe an isosurface or a clip plane. We can actually export that information out by selecting those parts and choosing the type of format we could export out. Most common is a case gold, and it actually writes EnSight format files for the parts that you have selected and the variables that you have activated. So in this case here, pressure and turbulent kinetic energy. We could also write out things like streamlines to VRML or write out information to a Flatfile format, which is basically a comma-separated format for writing out all the nodes and the variables associated with those particular nodes. And finally, the STL, if you want to read the information back into a CAD package, perhaps, for further viewing, you can write out any of the information as an STL. This will write out triangulated information, 2D parts, if you like, out as an STL file that you can then look at in CAD packages and other packages. And finally, when you go to exit under File, Quit, you have the options to save the command backup file or a full archive backup to restore back to this point. This full archive backup is really meant for a memory dump of where you are and a simple restore to that memory location for that. So those are the different options on saving not only your animations and images out, but also saving where you are and being able to restore back to your particular post-processing location.